The word pathetic is commonly used by English speakers to describe someone as weak or helpless in a negative way. As a result, nobody wants to be seen as pathetic, and we usually dislike those who are. So, what exactly defines a pathetic person, and what can we do to not be like that? The teachings of ancient Stoicism might have answers to these questions. Stoics sought a mindset they called apatheia, which led to the English word apathy. This state was crucial for living in tune with nature, which they saw as the ultimate goal and virtue. Unlike the modern negative interpretation of apathy as emotional detachment, the Stoic apatheia refers to not being controlled by strong emotions. In Stoicism, to be apathetic means to be free from the turmoil of passions, achieving a state of emotional peace. Conversely, what does being pathetic entail? This video examines the nature of patheticness, its detrimental effects, and how Stoicism can guide us away from it. A common misconception about Stoicism is the belief that it promotes eradicating all emotions to become completely apathetic, lacking in emotion, interest, and enthusiasm. This view overlooks the fact that emotions are intrinsic to the human experience, something we all encounter throughout our lives. To suppress emotions entirely would be to suppress our very humanity, which isn't a wise approach. Ancient Stoics, as evidenced in Seneca's Of Anger and other texts, were actually deeply concerned with emotions, understanding their potentially destructive nature, but not advocating for their complete removal. For instance, Aulus Gellius in The Attic Nights describes a philosopher who showed fear in a storm, citing Epictetus to explain that while the wise may initially react to sudden fears, they soon reject these feelings, understanding that they are not inherently something to fear. The fifth book of Epictetus's Discourses is unfortunately lost, but the existing passages indicate that Epictetus distinguished between passions and proto-emotions. Proto-emotions are immediate, involuntary reactions to initial stimuli. The problem isn't with these proto-emotions themselves, but in how we react to them. For example, a Stoic sage who catches her husband cheating might initially react with shock or tears. However, her disciplined mind quickly reassesses the situation from a rational standpoint, realizing there's no justifiable reason to be upset. Seneca elaborates on this in his book Of Anger, where he explains the subtle distinction between mere emotions and deeper passions. He notes that passions are not simply about feeling a response to external events, but rather about yielding to these feelings and allowing them to dictate our actions. If we act on what Seneca termed chance promptings, or immediate emotional responses to triggering events, we're indulging in irrational thinking or going beyond reason, as Stoics would say. Expecting things to occur as we wish, rather than as they naturally do, is a denial of life's reality. Take the example of a woman upset over her husband's infidelity. She might think, "This shouldn't have happened to me." But infidelity is a common occurrence. Accepting this reality helps us understand that such events, though unfortunate, are natural and not worth disrupting our peace of mind. Typically, people don't think this way. Our usual mindset is defined by strong desires and aversions, leading to predictable emotional reactions. We often feel we're entitled to certain outcomes, and when reality doesn't match our expectations, we become emotional. This constant cycle of desire and aversion turns life into an emotional roller coaster, and such dependency on external factors can be seen as pathetic. Stoics believe that strong emotions come from thinking in a way that doesn't match with their idea that we shouldn't worry about the outside world. What should we worry about? Things we can control, like what we want, think, like, dislike and decide. It's not what happens around us that changes how we feel, but how we think about it. If we let outside things control how we feel, we get caught up in these emotions. This means we worry about things we can't change and lose control over ourselves. Stoics talk about 4 main emotions: sadness, fear, wanting too much, and being too happy. The first one, sadness, happens when we think what's happening now is really bad and shouldn't be happening. According to Stoics, nothing outside us is really good or bad. It's just how we think about it. This is why different people feel different about the same thing. For example, the philosopher Epicurus was in a lot of pain, but still stayed happy. Fear is the second emotion Stoics talk about. It's when we worry about things that might happen in the future, things we think will be bad. But like with distress, it's our thoughts that make these future events seem bad, not the events themselves. Fear is different from distress because it's about what might happen, not what's happening now. We get anxious about the future, which can make us miss out on things and not do what we should. Seneca said something like, "We're more scared by our thoughts than by what actually happens." The third emotion is lust, which is wanting things we might get in the future too much. When we're caught up in lust, we're focused on something we can't control. If we don't get what we want, we feel let down. Seneca said that being lost in drink and lust is one of the worst ways to live. The fourth emotion the Stoics talk about is delight or pleasure. Delight is when we really enjoy something happening now because we think it's great. It's similar to how distress relates to fear. If we like something a lot, we'll want it again when it's not there, which can lead to cravings or even addiction. This desire for more and more can stop us from being calm and happy. Stoics suggest replacing these intense emotions with healthier ones. For example, instead of wanting too much, lust, we can simply hope, wish for things. Instead of delight, we can feel joy, and instead of fear, we can be cautious. There's no good replacement for distress. These healthier emotions are more reasonable and don't take over our lives. Like, we can hope to be healthy, but not get too upset if we get sick. Better yet, we can hope to be strong enough to handle sickness if it comes. To stop passions from starting, ancient Stoic teachings suggest focusing on accepting fate. Epictetus advises us to not insist on things happening the way we want, but to accept them as they happen. If we do this, we'll be happy with whatever comes our way. We won't crave what we don't have or dislike what we do get. This way, passions can't take hold. Why want or fear anything if we're happy with what we have? Why be upset if we don't mind things being different? And why be overly happy about one thing if everything is fine? In short, we calm our passions by not expecting too much from the world and not trying to avoid things. Epictetus's simple advice is to deal with the world calmly and without overdoing it. He compares life to a banquet. If something good comes your way, enjoy it, but don't reach for what's not yours or get upset over what you miss. This applies to family, money, and status too. Enjoy them as they come, without fuss. Resisting the urge to go after every tempting thing isn't easy, especially when our world is full of things that can make us happy. The way to handle this is through practice, training ourselves to strengthen our attitudes. For each desire and fear we want to overcome, there's a quality within us that we can develop. This helps us control our emotions better. When we face things that make us want too much, we can use self-control. When we face tough times, we can be optimistic, look for the good in the situation, and be strong. When we're scared or trying to avoid something, we need to be brave. And when dealing with people who aren't nice or understanding, we should be compassionate. Thanks for watching.